I'm Martin Thirlwell. I'm the owner and proprietor of Reiki Tradition, School for Reiki. Reiki Tradition has been established for almost 40 years now, and we work here from the therapy rooms, our beautiful and tranquil therapy centre based in Oldham and Groton. The idea behind this video, what we're producing today, is to give you a really good insight into integrated healthcare. Reiki practitioners working within statutory settings, and not just solely for the NHS hospitals, but for private hospitals, care homes, hospices, and even veterinary surgeries working solely with animals. Let's have a look at what's coming up in this video and what to look forward to. The Integrated Medicine Initiative. We'll be taking a look about this Integrated Medicine Initiative and how this proposal came about. The Integrated Medicine Alliance and how this Integrated Medicine Alliance came about from the initiative. We'll be talking about the College of Medicine and how it has an alliance with the Medicine Alliance, the IMA. Understanding the core curriculum. We'll be talking thoroughly about the core curriculum and the standards required to work within orthodox medicine and statutory settings. The National Occupational Standards. Again, we'll be talking about these standards and how a teacher, a training provider, has to work within the National Occupational Standards. We'll also be talking about Reiki training required if you're wanting to work within statutory settings alongside orthodox medicine. We'll go into what training as a Reiki practitioner is required. We'll also be having an interview with Lynette Jackson. Lynette Jackson is a professional hydrotherapist working solely with animals, and Lynette also works in a veterinary surgery, again working solely with animals. We'll also be having an interview with Sharon Whiteley. Sharon works solely in hospices, working alongside cancer patients and dementia patients. We'll also be having an interview with Julie Mann. Julie Mann works for the Alzheimer's Society and she specialises solely with dementia. Julie also is currently undertaking accreditation to the core curriculum for Reiki, so again a good interview there coming up with Julie Mann. And finally, we'll have our final closing words. Let's talk now about Integrated Medicine Initiative and how this initiative actually started. In February 1996, His Royal Highness Prince Charles, he proposed what we called the Integrated Medicine Initiative. This initiative was to encourage orthodox and complementary therapies to work together within healthcare, within NHS hospitals for the benefit of the British public. Complementary therapies were required to be self-regulated and to develop robust systems to ensure high standards of practice and levels of care, to bring them in line with other healthcare professionals who are also expected to hold nationally recognised qualifications. The regulation of complementary therapies is all about ensuring the professionalism and minimum standard of training and knowledge of the complementary therapists, and therefore ensuring safety and reassurance for members of the general public seeking complementary therapies. The General Medical Council, the GMC, guidance confirms that doctors are able to refer clients to practitioners who are on the accredited registers. One of the main regulators of complementary therapies in the UK is the Complementary and Natural Healthcare Council, the CNHC, also the Federation of Holistic Therapies, the FHT. Now, in order to be eligible to join a regulator such as the Complementary Natural Healthcare Council, the CNHC, or the Federation of Holistic Therapists, the FHT, Reiki students need to complete Reiki Training, which meets the standard of the new core curriculum. The House of Lords Science and Technology Committee report on complementary therapies in 2000 advised that voluntary self-regulation be introduced for complementary therapies. As a result of this, 12 different therapy groups were invited by then the Prince of Wales Foundation of Integrated Health, the PWFIH, to be involved with the consultation and process towards voluntary self-regulation. This went through a federal working group and culminated in the introduction of the Complementary and Natural Healthcare Council, the CNHC, as one regulatory body, although others have been subsequently been formed since. Let's now just finally recap on this integrated medicine initiative and try to just make it a little bit more understanding for you. If we look at all the doctors and nurses who are working in the NHS hospitals, these doctors and nurses, if we look at, they're working on a level here, and when they went to learn their speciality, whatever that speciality may be, they was taught in a university or college by a teacher, and that course would have been run to the core curriculum standard. What Prince Charles' initiative proposal was in 1996 is that if all the complementary therapists which are down here, if their training was also done to the core curriculum standard, then in essence they're on the same par as the doctors and nurses working in the hospitals. So complementary therapists who have undergone training to the complementary core curriculum standard can then work within orthodox medicine as part of multidisciplinary teams or single-handedly. Okay, to just make you more aware of this now, because this can be quite daunting and a little bit difficult to understand, but it's my job here to, for the viewers to understand this video. Back in 1996, His Royal Highness Prince Charles, he proposed the Integrated Medicine Initiative. That was just an idea of bringing complementary therapists to work within orthodox medicine, within NHS Hospitals Hospices, care homes. Since then now, his proposal, his idea, has now gone on to create what we call the Integrated Medicine Alliance, the IMA. And part of the Integrated Medicine Alliance, the IMA, is also the College of Medicine. It's one organisation. Prince Charles is the patron of that organisation. The Integrated Medicine Alliance, their manifesto, Hope for the Future, was published during the uncertain era of a global pandemic. It looks ahead to a world altered by COVID-19 and has been written by some of the most influential names in UK health, including Sir Sam Everington, Sir Stephen Holgate and Dame Donna Kinnear. And the College of Medicine's new manifesto is their vision for better integrated healthcare in the next decades to come. The manifesto, written by the Integrated Medicine Alliance, Hope for the Future, is a great article to read for anyone interested in integrated healthcare. All the resources that we're adhering to, the core curriculum, the National Occupational Standards, the Integrated Medicine Initiative, the Alliance, the College of Medicine, what we've previously just spoke about, we'll put all the references for all this material together for you at the end of this video. Let's now talk about the National Occupational Standards and the core curriculum. These are a set of two separate standards. The core curriculum standards are a set of standards which are geared to the student, what the student has to obtain to work within orthodox integrated healthcare. And the National Occupational Standards are a set of standards which are geared to round that training provider, the teacher, on how they teach the core curriculum. National Occupational Standards are a set of statements of competence and are written to measure outcomes. National Occupational Standards describe best practice. In 2009, the revision of National Occupational Standards for Complementary and National Healthcare was completed under the guidance of Skills for Health. There was an extensive consultation with the public and practitioners, and representatives from 12 different therapy groups worked collectively on the revisions over a 12-month period. The National Occupational Standards for Reiki are included within these revisions and are made up of 3 separate competencies. The first 2, which are common to all therapy groups, and the third one being specifically for Reiki. The competencies, all of which would need to be achieved, may be downloaded from the Skills of Health or the Complementary and Natural Healthcare Council's websites. Both these references will be given to you in the final credits at the end of this video. Teaching Reiki to National Occupational Standards. Currently, there is no requirements that Reiki Master teachers should hold formal teaching qualifications to teach Reiki to National Occupational Standards. There may be other implications for those wishing to assess standards. Those teaching Reiki should be qualified Reiki Master teachers. It is recommended that anyone teaching Reiki should have used Reiki for a minimum period of 12 months, as it's our view that to teach Reiki one should have sufficient experience of using Reiki on oneself and others. In teaching Reiki to the National Occupational Standards, then teachers should be familiar with the ethos of the National Occupational Standards and in general have a working understanding of the National Occupational Standards for Reiki. If teaching on an accredited course, then the awarding body will stipulate what qualifications are required, usually those of an assessor. Teachers are usually able to undertake assessor's qualifications on the job and are given sufficient time to gain the awards. However, for those teaching non-accredited courses but would like to be able to make reasonable assessments of competence against the standards, we would recommend teachers are familiar with the major aspects of assessing. It's not mandatory for any Reiki Master teacher to become qualified as an assessor at the present time, but it's something which some may wish to think about for the future. The most important thing is that the teacher is familiar with the National Occupational Standards for Reiki and has a whole understanding of the core curriculum and is able to incorporate all requirements into their teaching. Teaching individuals who want Reiki for personal or family use only, the recommendations do not apply unless the teacher wishes to use them. So up to now in this video, we've spoke about the core curriculum, the National Occupational Standards. This core curriculum, National Occupational Standards, is all around the Reiki practitioner wanting to learn to that standard to work in orthodox medicine, integrated healthcare. But what happens here now if that Reiki practitioner solely wants to work just on animals? We have a number of Reiki practitioners here at Reiki Tradition and Therapy Rooms who work solely with animals in veterinary care, but they're still working within statutory settings, single-handedly or part of multidisciplinary teams. We have a whole set of national occupational standards, what we have to adhere to here to bring into that teaching, what the teacher, what the course provider has to adhere to. These set of standards, national occupational standards specifically for animals, have been written by LANTRA. LANTRA has worked with the agricultural and environment and animal care sector for 50 years, initially as a national training organisation and now a sector body. LADTRA has worked with employers, trade bodies, professional organisations, regulatory organisations and industry experts, voluntary organisations and trade unions and other partners throughout the UK to develop and review national occupational standards, qualifications and apprenticeships for all occupations at all levels for people working around animals. So up to now, we can quite clearly see that there's two main standards, the core curriculum, the National Occupational Standards, which a Reiki practitioner needs to adhere to, especially the core curriculum, to work within statutory medicine alongside orthodox medicine. Reiki's come a long way since it was introduced to the UK. And these settings, these core curriculum, is a set of standards, not for the Reiki itself, but for the Reiki practitioner. For that Reiki practitioner to work in these establishments to a high standard. And it's our job to bring awareness to societies and organisations regarding integrated healthcare and for Reiki practitioners to work in those environments. I want you now to view this short video. This short video is His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales opening the Integrated and Personalised Medicine Congress back in 2022. I must also note that His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales is actually the patron for the College of Medicine, the Integrated Medicine Alliance. This video is very inspirational, the way that His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales opens this Congress.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to say just a few words today at what I am delighted to hear is the largest conference on integrated health ever held in the United Kingdom. It comes at a time when the need for an integrated approach has never been so great, especially following the physical and social disconnection of the past 2 years and the damage to mind and body caused by COVID-19. So I want to thank first and foremost the organisers and the College of Medicine for enabling this conference to happen. I also want to pay tribute to your talented international speakers and, last but not least, to those of you attending today's conference and who represent our integrated hope for the future. I know that a few people have seen this integrated approach as being in some way opposed to modern medicine. It isn't. We must all be grateful for the staggering success of modern medicines and procedures in areas such as heart disease and cancer, and more recently in providing vaccines during the pandemic. They are the result of population-based science. But as this conference implies, we need to combine this with a personal approach that also takes account of our beliefs, hopes, culture, and history, and which respects our choices, where safe and appropriate, between the conventional lifestyle and the complementary. This more personal style of medicine, with its own emerging science, takes account of factors such as our individual genetic makeup and biome. It builds upon the abilities of our minds and bodies to heal and to live healthy lives by improving diet and lifestyle. It emphasizes the profound effect on our psychological well-being of the physical and social environment around us, and how particular benefits can be more widely gained through social prescribing and other means. This new approach in medical thinking and practice, perhaps we should call it postmodern medicine, is critical if we are to overcome spiraling problems in areas such as mental health and obesity. By reaching beyond medicines and procedures at this conference, you are, I believe, pointing the way towards how we create a more sustainable health service in every sense, and ultimately, how we can create sustainable communities and a healthier planet. Good health is, I believe, not only about creating harmony within ourselves, mind, body and spirit, and with each other, but also about creating a healing and harmonious relationship with the environment in which we live. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do hope that your conference will be a trailblazer towards this new world of medicine, and perhaps your success should be measured by whether we need conferences in the future entitled Integrated and Personal Medicine at all, when hopefully all medicine has become integrated and personal. I greatly look forward to hearing about the leading edge research and thinking of your speakers and the practical outcomes of your conference. Meanwhile, although sadly I'm unable to be with you today in person, I can assure you that I am every bit of the way with you in mind and spirit.
So let's spend some time now explaining to you in great detail what's required of anybody considering undertaking Reiki training. We have to look at now that accreditation, the syllabus standards, isn't for everybody. Let me explain this. If a student is coming to learn Reiki for the very first time, and that student just simply wants to learn Reiki for the self, immediate family and friends and work colleagues, even their own animals and friends' animals, then a non-accredited course, not to the core curriculum, is satisfactory for that student. However, if a student requires to work within statutory settings, such as hospitals, private hospitals, NHS hospitals, hospices, care homes, veterinary surgeries, then a core curriculum qualification is required. That student will have to seek the route of an accredited qualification course which is run to the core curriculum standard. So we can easily see now that accreditation isn't for everybody. Let me explain now in detail what's needed in the training. For a student that requires a non-accredited course, that wants to just use Reiki and learn Reiki for the self, friends and family and colleagues, even their own animals. So our first degree course, or any other Reiki first degree course, is all about oneself. We have to leave a gap of 6 months in between completing first degree to continuing with second degree. When a student comes and attends a second degree course, which is 6 months later from finishing Reiki first degree course, this second degree course is what we now class as a practitioner course. That practitioner course, after completion, the student can go away and work on general public. This is a non-accredited course. And students on a non-accredited course which have completed Reiki second degree, who can work on general public, can still get insurance, can still safely work. It's just that that course hasn't been done to the core curriculum. And finally, on a non-accredited course, a student generally receives their certification within 24 hours of completing that course. So let me now explain to you an accredited course which is being run to the core curriculum standards, which we've been speaking about through this video. An accredited course running to the core curriculum has to meet specific standards and adhere to those standards. 65 hours of training in whole. That training is inclusive of first degree, second degree, 4 development days, a workshop day. It's a minimum of 9 months to completion because the students work at their own pace. That course also has to meet a criteria of 240 points or 240 hours. How we get this 240 hours is simple. 65 hours of training plus the 175 case studies combined is 240 inclusive hours. Me as a training provider for the Federation of Holistic Therapists, the FHT, and any other training provider out there, we all might just slightly work differently in our ways, but the end goal will still be 65 hours of training. Let me explain how Reiki Tradition operate their core curriculum course. We know that first degree is 15 hours, and that's over a duration of 2 consecutive days, usually Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. in the morning till 5:45 in the evening, and we usually have 30 minutes break for lunch. And the same for second degree. This second degree is over 2 consecutive days, usually a Saturday and Sunday, and it runs from 10 a.m. to 5:45 p.m. again, and again 30 minutes for break, 15 hours. Then we go on to our development days. 4 development days all in total, all lasting 7 hours. And these development days are very, very specific training. We could be bringing in a cancer patient on the first development day. We could be bringing in a dementia person on the second development day, an amputee on the third development day, and perhaps a pregnant lady on the 4th development day. So those students are getting a high standard of training working in these specialised areas. On the 4th, the workshop day, which is 7 hours, what we do here at Reiki Tradition, because the students have been taught everything up to that point, we will take the students into working in a hospital, a hospice, a care home, a veterinary surgery, working solely voluntary with the team for a duration of 7 hours. That's our workshop day. Now, other training providers out there might work their development days and workshop days differently, but the overall gain is to meet 65 hours of training. Let me explain now the final bit of the core curriculum course to accreditation. Is the case studies. 175 case studies have got to be completed by that student, and every case study has to be documented. Let me explain these case studies to you in detail. When the student comes in to gain first degree, upon completion of that first degree, that student will go back home and they'll have to comply to a number of 30 self-healing case studies. This is 30 one-hour treatments on themselves, all documented. And generally, a student at this stage will have the 6-month period to complete these case studies in. The 30 case studies would need to be completed before second degree. But I also need to emphasise here, this is the way that at Reiki Tradition here we do our core curriculum. Other training providers, other Reiki masters out there what are working to the core curriculum, they may have their students doing 50 case studies on a Reiki first degree. It all differs. as the end goal is as long as 175 case studies are complete. But on a Reiki first degree course, we have to understand that that's a self-healing course. So the student has to comply with a number of self-healing case studies. What we have to speak about now and talk about is the second degree Reiki course. This second degree, as I've said earlier, is about giving treatments now to the general public. This is when that student becomes what we call a Reiki practitioner. So on second degree, on completion of second degree, this student now has to comply with a number of case studies, not just for self-healing, but now also for giving treatments to others. But let me explain this now in full detail to you, what is actually required. Up to now, we know that the student has complied with 30 case studies from completing the first degree, but there's 145 case studies missing. Let's see how these 145 now come in. When the student completes second degree, that student will have to go away and comply with 70 case studies self-healing on the self. In the core curriculum states 100 self-healing case studies. So we can quite easily see here that we've split that. 30 are allocated to first degree and 70 are allocated to second degree, hence 100 case studies. We've complied with core curriculum. The student then needs to adhere to what we call 40 case studies given to others. So this 40 given to others treatments, that student would have to pick 4 separate people, that could be mum and dad, brother and sister, and do 10 1-hour treatments on each person, all documented. And finally, the student would be asked to do 35 more treatments on anybody what they want to. But 5 of these 35 would have to be observed healing sessions from the Reiki master or an assistant who has got the qualification to teach. 5 observed treatments. So we can now see the core curriculum case studies is 100 self-healing treatments on self, 40 on 4 separate people, 10 each, totals 40, and 35 treatments on others, 5 of which have got to be observed treatments from the Reiki master or an assistant who's got a teaching qualification to be able to observe those treatments being done. All those 175 treatments all have got to be documented. This is the core curriculum. So we can now see that the core curriculum, an accredited course being run to the core curriculum, is quite a massive undertaking. You know, it's not for everybody. I need to keep saying this. So anybody considering doing a Reiki course, first of all, see if you require an accredited qualification. If you are considering working within NHS hospitals, hospices, care homes, you would need an accredited qualification. But what I'm going to just finally mention now is what to look out for. If anybody is considering a core curriculum course to an accredited qualification to enable you to work in these environments, first of all, do your homework. Ask the Reiki master who you've been drawn to. Are they accredited? Have they been verified? Is the courses accredited and been verified? find out the organisation, the society, the federation that they'll be a member of, and go to that society, organisation and federation to doubly check. Is the Reiki Master's lineage back to Usui, first generation? It should be. Usui Miko Sensei. This is a core curriculum that lineage has to go up, that lineage to first generation Usui Miko Sensei. Secondly, now, is the course to the core curriculum? Is it 65 hours of training? Is it 175 case studies? Is Reiki first degree over 2 days? Is that master asking for a gap of 6 months between completing first degree and second degree? Is second degree over 2 consecutive days? All these questions you need to be asking. Is the course telling you that it's minimum 9 months to completion? If there's any rush, 2-3 weeks, then that's not the core curriculum. The core curriculum states minimum 9 months. The course really isn't governed by the Reiki Master, because on an accredited qualification core curriculum course, the student works at their own pace. That student might not complete till 3 or 4 years down the line. This is why we say a minimum of 9 months. The student works at their own pace. The most specific one of all is the course has to be classroom based. The course has to have the Reiki Master present, the teacher. That Reiki Master should also hold a teacher's qualification certificate, a minimum level 2 qualification. These are the questions you need to ask. If the course is an online course, then that's not a core curriculum, and you will not be able to get insurance for that course. It has to be classroom based. Is an accredited qualification course to the core curriculum 65 hours of training, 175 case studies, 240 hours in total. So again, if you come across a course being offered for 20 or 30 pound over 1 or 2 days, that's not the core curriculum. It's not an accredited qualification. We've now got Lynette Jackson, who again is a colleague and a student of Reiki tradition. And Lynette's brought, as we can see, Bruno here. Bruno's a fabulous dog. He's absolutely loving this session. And as I'm talking, all you probably can hear is Bruno panting away here. But over to you now, Lynette. Can you kindly tell everybody what brought you to Reiki? What, you know, going right back to the very, very beginning when you didn't know nothing about Reiki.
Okay.
How did you discover Reiki?
So a friend of mine introduced me to Reiki about 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
She had just completed her Reiki 2 and she asked me if she could practice on me. Yep, absolutely no problem. I had no idea what Reiki was. We had an hour sessions together and I walked out of there feeling amazing. Whatever was going on at the time just seemed to lift. It just lifted and I was like, I need to do this for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what got me into Reiki initially, and then when I went online to look for somewhere to come, Reiki Tradition was the first one that came up, so I phoned yourself, and 3 years later I'm still here.
Lynette here is what we call a hydrotherapist. She specialises in swimming animals in water for ligament mending, which Lynette will tell us just shortly. Also, Lynette works at veterinary surgery with animals, hence why she wanted the core curriculum accreditation course. So Lynette, you discovered Reiki. I always remember you coming in for that very first course. Oh, that's bringing so many memories back now talking to you, but just for the viewers, tell us what you said.
I said I was here to work with animals, not to work with people. Animals are my passion. Animals is what I know, it's what I'm good at, and it's what I love doing.
Yes.
So I have my own anxious dog, and he loves a Reiki session, and he's a completely different dog for doing Reiki on him.
Yeah. And that's Marshall.
Yeah, that's Marshall. Yeah, it is.
And people watching this video, you probably would have seen Marshall in last year's video where we did the hydro pool session with Marshall. Marshall's a lovely dog. Okay, Lynette, so you've got your training now. You came in to do that first degree, which was an absolute laugh, and you've come back to do the second degree. This was done to the core curriculum, the accredited standard, because you wanted to specifically work with animals right from the very
In the
get-go.
beginning, yeah.
So now you're working in this environment. Can you kind of tell us in your own words what this Reiki does to you as a person?
It makes me a calmer person. It makes me a happier person. I still get excited about going to work every day, but I'm a calmer me for the animals and that I'm going to go and work with that day. But it does make me feel whole. It makes me feel good about myself.
Yeah.
Doing Reiki. That's how it makes me feel.
And we have to mention here, because when we've had these comments in the past, these discussions, do you remember saying that you're there at your work at 7 o'clock when it doesn't open till 8?
Absolutely, and I'm still there at 7 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't open till 8 o'clock because I still want to get through that door and I still want to make a difference. In my hydro, I get a lot of anxious dogs in.
Yeah.
Another cane corso pulled my shoulder out on Friday. 45 kilos of anxious dog. He got in the pool, he swam, but he just wanted to be here with me, here. Hi, darling. So did a bit of Reiki just over his head without his owners knowing, and he seemed to calm right down. Just like, oh, I think he likes you, and I'm like, just Reiki. Just doing Reiki on these dogs. Obviously the same with puppies.
Yeah.
Elderly dogs that come in with arthritis, they need to be calm and you need to be calm because they're anxious of what is going to happen. So you always have to remain calm. So I will always do a Reiki session on myself before I go into work. Then I'm calm because then I can help others. I can't help others if I can't help myself. And that's where my energy then comes from and portrays onto the dog to keep them calm.
Working with animals is totally different than working with humans. Humans can talk to us, they've got a voice, whereas animals haven't. So there is a massive difference there. Can you explain your daily working, what you get out of this, what your animals get out of this?
Yeah, I work with a lot of post-op animals, dogs that have had operations, like serious operations on their joints. Obviously they are anxious that we're going to touch that joint, it's going to hurt when they get in the water.
Correct.
So you need to be nice and calm, nice and steady, understand what the dog's feeling, and that's where my Reiki comes in. So as long as I'm calm, and I've done every time I go into work, I will do a short Reiki session on myself, then I can go and help this other dog heal.
Yeah.
I get puppies in there that are obviously, they need encouragement, they need courage, and that has to come from me. So if I'm nice and calm, the puppy will be nice and calm in the water. Obviously we have elderly dogs as well with arthritic changes. They're sore, they're anxious. So again, Reiki session on myself, short Reiki session on the dog in the pool if they need it, unbeknown to the owner that I'm doing it. However, it does calm the dog right down.
So Lynette, back to you, back to this hydrotherapy pool. Swimming with your animals. Can you give us a couple of magic moments? What's like what we call blown away moments, that wow factor?
Yeah, of course. I was on reception one evening, working away, doing confirmations for the day after, answering the phone, making appointments, doing vet checks and just the normal stuff that you do on reception. And we had a dog in the pool. He was okay to start with and then got a little bit stressed not because he was swimming, because he didn't have any confidence in himself. And I was inspired to go into the hydrotherapy pool and see if I could help this dog. And as I walked through the door, this dog just sort of turned, looked at me, I got side by side with this dog and he just went like this with his foot. So I held onto that paw just for a few seconds.
Yeah.
And we sort of looked at each other.
So it was like reaching out to you,
almost like, I just need a bit more.
Yeah.
So I held onto his paw for as long as he wanted me to.
Oh.
And just reassured him that everything was going to be okay mentally.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be okay. And if you want me to stay, I'll stay.
Yeah.
It's okay. So I let go of his paw. He put it back in the pool. My colleague was in the pool at the time and I found myself walking around the pool with the dog, coming back to the beginning again.
Yeah.
Same thing again, holding onto his paw just for a few seconds, having that quick look, are you okay? I'm okay.
Yeah.
Come on then, let's go. Yeah, that was a really good inspiration for me. That he trusted me to do that. He'd never met me before. Everything's brand new.
Of course.
And he just trusted me enough to go, it's okay. Yeah.
God.
Just because that one dog needed a little bit more.
Because I didn't know how to take that. I thought, are we jumping in the pool fully clothed?
No. In my wetsuit. But he just needed that little bit more.
Yeah.
He just needed that from me. That little bit more of reassurance.
He drew from you what he needed.
Yes.
At that moment.
Yeah, he did.
Reiki works in magnificent ways.
It does for animals.
It can work by talking, hands-on, or even, like you say, holding a paw, that animal drawing from you for calmness. Wow, magical. There's that. Do you have anything else to say on that?
A lot of it I do in the shower as well.
Yeah.
When dogs want to run to their owners and need a little bit of reassurance in the shower, it's okay because sometimes dogs get hosed down with a cold hose pipe in the garden.
Yes.
So they think that's what the shower is for. So if we start a very short Reiki session on the front, everything's okay, everything's calm.
Yeah.
I'm calm, the dog's calm, and that's how then the rest of the swim will continue in a nice, calm, relaxed way where the dog is relaxed, I'm relaxed, and the dog gets most out of what it needs to come swimming for.
Of course. Can I just ask here, because you're away from the owners, you're here just with the animal, and the animal needs Reiki there and then, has this been pre-mentioned with the owners if the animal needs Reiki? Or is that just something that you would take on to do?
It's just, the animal will tell me that it needs Reiki. I will speak to the owner.
Yes.
Obviously, because you need an owner's consent to do so.
I'm getting that,
however, I will speak to the owner first, but if the animal I feel the animal needs it, I will tell the owner. Because I need them to understand what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and why the animal needs to take from me what he needs to take.
So you're like a little Lynette, Mr. Doolittle, aren't you, in a way, talking to the animals?
Yeah, 101 Dalmatians lied to me when they said how many dogs I could actually have. Yeah.
This is a magical moment, what a lot of people can't experience working with animals and working with humans. It's that non-taught factor into what makes everything more.
It makes it more magical because they can't tell you and you have to find out.
Of course.
And obviously the owners can tell you, but I don't want to know. Like with people, you don't want to know, but the animal can't tell you. They take what they want and then just get up and leave.
Exactly.
And say, thanks for that. And I'm going chase for that. I'm off. And I think that for me, that's what I need as an animal person, very much an animal person. And I think I get it from the dogs as much as the dogs get it from me. So
just elaborate on that, please, Lynette, that when we're doing a Reiki treatment on humans, generally that treatment is an hour. If somebody pays for an hour, they want an hour. But with animals, that can be totally different, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You can be there 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. If it's anything like Marshall, you're there for an hour because he likes a good Reiki session, my own dog. My eldest, she takes what she needs, and my middle dog doesn't like it at all. So it all depends on the dog. I suppose it all, like the rest of us, it depends on the day and the situation also.
Exactly.
But yeah, they take what they need. You can do it on a human, and the animal can be in the room. They take what they need and they'll leave.
So really the animal's in charge.
Absolutely.
Not the human.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just to cap off now on everything, if there's anybody watching this video who would sorely love to work with animals like you did when you came in on your Reiki one, that I want to solely work with animals. For anybody watching this video what wants to go down that same route as you, to work professional with animals, what advice would you give them?
Absolutely, go and jump at the chance. Follow your dreams. Go and work in a setting that makes you happy, and absolutely jump at the chance of working with animals, whether that be doing Reiki
Yes.
on animals and make that your living,
Yes.
working in a practice, working in hydro, working in a rescue centre, working in kennels,
Yes.
wherever you choose to work with animals, make it your dream, follow your dream,
Yes.
and make it your life, that you live in your best life the way that you want to live it. I'm very, very, very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in. Every day I get up,
Yeah.
I live with my own 3 dogs, I go to work and I cuddle other people's dogs.
Yeah.
I make a difference to somebody else's dog every day, and that makes me happy and that makes me whole.
Yes.
And for me to then be able to perform Reiki on these animals
Yes.
just gives it that little bit more of a special touch, I think.
Exactly. Thank you for that, Lynette. and again, just finally, anybody watching this video, I keep emphasising on this, if you want to go down that route working with animals, so as a good training provider what can teach you to that core curriculum, that National Occupational Accredited standard, because that's the standard that you would have to require to work alongside animals like Lynette is doing. Thank you very, very much, Lynette. It's been an absolute pleasure, as it always is.
Always a
talking
pleasure,
to you.
Martin. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynette.
Thank you.
Sharon is a colleague of mine. She works solely here at the therapy rooms doing her own treatments. But Sharon specialises in working with dementia people and cancer patients at a local hospice. Can you just tell a little bit about yourself and how you discovered Reiki, first of all, and how you come into Reiki?
Okay, I discovered Reiki through a lady I worked for who was the manager of an old people's home I worked at. She gave me a treatment while we were in the home, and then she came to my house to give me a treatment before I went into hospital for a procedure. And I was pleasantly surprised that I sailed through it. No nerves, no nothing, got over it really quickly and everything.
Wow.
And then that would be around about 95.
Yeah.
Before that I found a book called The Reiki Healer. I never purchased it.
Yeah.
So I started reading that and thought it sounds really good, what I was reading. So then I started to look for a course, and there was one came up at Oldham College.
Yes.
And in the November of 97 I did my Reiki 1. 98 I did my Reiki 2 at Oldham College. Never thinking I'd go on to do a level 3. Because I didn't need it at the time, but it was always at the back of my mind I'd like to work in a hospital or a hospice.
Of course.
And then I'd read somewhere that you needed an accreditation, and that's when I found yourself.
Right.
And I came along and redid my level 1 and level 2 with you, and then progressed on to my level 3 because it wasn't accredited.
Yeah.
And things have just gone from there.
And you've been with us ever since?
Ever since.
On
yeah.
every course. Sharon
Yeah.
is part of the woodworking at the therapy rooms. She attends every course that we do. You've got all your training in order now. You've done your first, second and third degree, all to that accredited core curriculum standard. What made you decide now to work in a hospice? Because that was your main goal right from the beginning, weren't it?
It was. So I decided that I'd go part-time. And I worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at my main job.
Yes.
And then Thursdays an opportunity came up to volunteer at Spring Hill Hospice
Yes.
with the day patients on for the cancer patients.
Yes.
Which is brilliant because some of the characters that you meet,
Yeah.
you know, you automatically, some people think you go to a hospice and it's all doom and gloom, and it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very uplifting.
Yeah.
The staff are uplifting. They all support each other.
Yeah.
Right from the top nurses and doctors right down to the cleaners.
Yeah.
They're all so friendly. And it boosted me as well. And then an opportunity came to to work with, they've started a dementia hub, and initially it was every fortnight,
Yes.
and now they've got so many going, it's every week.
Wow, fantastic.
But it's split up, so I don't see the same people every week, it's different
Yeah.
week to week.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a conventional way of doing Reiki,
Yeah.
where you take them into the therapy room, lie them down and do all the hand positions.
Yeah.
A lot of what I do is I'm sat on a chair like you are,
Yeah.
and it might just be holding the hand
Of course.
on the shoulder,
Yeah.
hand on the back,
Yeah.
and doing it that way. Out of the people I've had about 6 of them. Bearing in mind I work with a lot of dementia people, and my mum had Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
My mum never once told me that what she got.
Yeah.
None of the people I cared for in the home told me what they'd got.
Yeah.
The people I've done done Reiki on with dementia,
Yeah.
have all said, do you know I've got a mental health problem?
Wow.
Or I've got dementia. So it's obviously doing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think it's pretty amazing that.
Yeah, it is fantastic work.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Sharon. As you know, Reiki tradition here at the therapy rooms, we've always had an alliance with Spring Hill Hospice, and not just Spring Hill Hospice, but many other hospices in the Oldham, Tameside, Greater Manchester area. And it's great that we've got the practitioners in there. What our alliance is, you know, with Spring Hill Hospice is we bring the current practitioners out of there, we train them, that's that core curriculum, that accreditation level, for them to go back in the hospice to work at that higher level. So it's fantastic work you do there. You know, I really, really appreciate it. I'm so proud of you. The proud space as a Reiki practitioner on the cancer and dementia patients, which is superb work. But can you tell us in your own words what you personally get out of doing these treatments?
I get a lot out of it. I can go in there feeling really deflated some mornings. And it's absolutely brilliant because I come out elated.
Yeah.
It's the pleasure that you see. Some people feel like they don't get anything out of it,
Yes.
but then you see them the next time and they have.
Yeah.
And they'll say, oh, do you know I had that pain and it's gone.
Yeah.
And that is something, it makes you feel good,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and all the staff are appreciative as well.
Yes.
And they do come and tell you, you know, we're really pleased that you come in, and we, you know, thank you for what you're doing. You know, it's really good to know that you're appreciated.
Yeah.
Well, basically for giving your time up.
Exactly. What you just spoke about, I'm just going to go back a couple of steps here, because you mentioned that you work with them in a chair on the shoulder, not necessarily the Reiki military, the regimental side of all the positions. Sometimes we have to work with what we've got.
Yeah, very
you know?
true.
Sometimes these people are so poorly that they don't want to be moved to another room. They're so relaxed where they are. So how do you find that? You know, you've been taught to do chair positions.
I've been taught how to do the chair positions.
Yeah.
Some of them, the dementia is so advanced that they've lost the use of the legs, so you can't move them on your own.
Yeah.
And it's easier just to leave them on the chair. And also you've got to look at the anxiety that it causes to that person by moving them
and the family,
from one environment to another. So if you can do it there, you take away the anxiety.
Exactly. Can you say in your own words any magical moments what have happened to you?
I used to go on to the ward, and I'd been asked to go on to do a foot and leg massage on a gentleman he only had a matter of days to live. And I went in and I did his foot and leg, and the nurse came and she said, do you think you could do a bit of that Reiki thing on him? Because all he complains about are his shoulders. Bearing in mind the amount of medication, pain relief that man was on.
Of course,
He shouldn't have had pain in his shoulders.
Yeah.
So I spent 10 minutes just holding his shoulders, giving him relief.
Yeah.
And he went to sleep. and he never complained of his shoulder pain.
Wow.
And then another young woman who I'd seen in day hospice, but she was only young, and she was never quite well enough to have any sort of a treatment done. And she had some sort of brain cancer. And she always looked so sad, never saw a smile or anything. And she got married on the Friday. The following Thursday I went to the hospice, and she'd come in the day before, and her husband was with her and the dog, and obviously they were staying with her.
Of course.
And she was called Tracy. And her husband came up to the therapy room and said, would you mind coming and giving Tracy some Reiki? I'm sure it'd help her.
Oh.
And as I went in, he was putting all the wedding cards up.
Oh.
So all I did, I didn't approach her, I just stood at the bottom of the bed.
Of course.
And did half an hour of beaming Reiki onto her.
Yeah.
And at the end she said, thank you so much. And I've never seen her smile before, but she had the beautiful smile.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it worthwhile.
Of course. Yeah. For anybody obviously watching and considering wanting to work within a statutory setting, either single-handedly or part of multidisciplinary teams, what route would they have to take, like an approach in an hospice? We can look at it that they've done the training, the accredited first and second degree, and that's an accredited course. They've got that qualification now under the belt. What would you advise them then to do? How would you go about it? What would the hospice expect?
Well, you'd approach them to become a volunteer, asking all your work history, like for any job interview that you put down.
Yes.
They ask for references. Also, you have to, dependent on what sort of work that you want, like if it's to do Reiki, they don't just take you on working with Reiki, you've got to have another
a second
therapy under your belt.
Yes.
Like I have reflexology.
Yes.
Because Reiki isn't always the first choice.
Yes.
It will get there where it will be the first choice, but at the moment it isn't. You've got to be able to massage, reflexology, anything like that, aromatherapy.
Yeah.
And then you go through the process of they send off for references.
Yes.
You have to have a DBS check because you're working with vulnerable adults.
Exactly. So just to recap here what you've said, the two therapies, hence you've got Reiki and reflexology.
Yeah.
I suppose if you only have Reiki and you go into the hospice and you're there a matter of 6 hours, say, then if anybody doesn't want Reiki, you're standing about.
You're standing about, yeah.
So this is where the second therapy comes in.
And
you've got an option.
Yeah, and you can't be insistent. Yeah. I only do Reiki and I want to do Reiki on you.
Yeah.
You've got to obviously offer reflexology, or be it a foot and leg massage.
Yes. Just finally, Sharon, is for anybody watching this video, these people watching the video might be considering coming on a Reiki course, or they might be considering working in statutory settings, part of multidisciplinary teams like yourself. What advice would you give them, do you think?
Do it. Don't think about it, just do it.
Yeah.
If you're not trained, get your training done.
Yeah.
If you're not trained up to the standards, retrain to do it so you're allowed in.
Yeah.
And just enjoy the process.
Oh.
Just enjoy it, because what you get out of it really is far more than what you think you give.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course. Thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome.
Sharon, it's been an absolute pleasure. Julie Mann is a really good friend of mine and work colleague. Julie also was part of Reiki Tradition here, undergoing her training in Reiki to an accreditation level. Just for the people watching this video, can you just introduce yourself, tell us what you do and the work, what you're involved in?
Yeah, of course I will. It's my absolute pleasure, Martin, to be here this morning.
Yeah.
So I'm I'm Julie Mann, as you've said, and I currently work as a dementia advisor for the Alzheimer's Society.
Yes.
I cover the whole of the Rochdale Borough, and I've been doing this role for around 9 years now. Prior to that, I was a registered general nurse. I worked at Oldham Hospital and Fairfield Hospital, and did nearly 30 years as a career in nursing. And towards the end of that career, sadly my mum got dementia, and I was thrown into this arena that I knew nothing about. And it really started to affect me. So I found Reiki, I discovered Reiki as a treatment for myself at that time. So I work for the Alzheimer's Society. I love the role that I do.
Oh, I love that.
I love supporting people with dementia and their carers as well.
So when you went to your college, your university, to learn your qualification for nursing, what you would specialise in, that course, what was taught to you then, would have been to the core curriculum.
Yeah, absolutely.
Many hours and case studies involved.
Yeah.
So with your professional background and what you've already gone through with the core curriculum, what made you decide to then venture onto an accredited course?
I think I'd got to a point where I know I want to take Reiki further, but I also in myself needed to know that I was doing it to the right standard.
Yes.
So I was unsure whether to do my Reiki Master.
Yeah.
And I started to look into that, and as I was looking into things, I came across Reiki Tradition. And the more I looked at Reiki Tradition, I came across the core curriculum and the occupational standards that should be achieved.
Yes.
So that was where my heart was being pulled to.
Yes.
And I just thought, if I can do Reiki at this highest level to the right standards,
Yes.
it will enable me to then go into clinical settings, and that's where I want to go to.
Yes.
So I want to be able to go into hospices to work with more clients with dementias and Alzheimer's disease, but I want to be able to deliver Reiki at the right standard and to be accredited, and to be able to be part of FHT as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I just had to do some research to find out how I was going to make sure that my practice was complying with those standards that are required. You know, lots of people say, oh, you can just do Reiki on the internet. Well, you can't do Reiki on the internet.
Exactly.
It's nonsense. You know, you have to be able to deliver at the standards that are required and do those case studies, and to be committed to do that as well, because it's hard work.
It is.
It's not
it's
easy.
Achievement at the end.
And it's really being committed to do something, and in my heart I know this is what I've got to do, and I've got to get to that standard that we need to deliver to general public.
Getting back to when you was training in your university college to that core curriculum, at that time did you know that course that you were specialising in and being taught in was to the core curriculum?
I did when I was doing my nursing. My nursing was a 3-year course, and it was at a set standard. We had to meet the Nursing and Midwifery Council standards to achieve our registration. And then every year we had to prove that we were still maintaining those standards. And then throughout my nursing career I did a teaching programme, so again that was set at a core curriculum. I had to follow the set pathway to achieve the outcomes that I needed.
So you saw that we're offering courses to the core curriculum, then did that strike a chord with you that, hang on, core curriculum, I'm not being taught core curriculum in my profession, this is a standard?
Absolutely.
Because what I'm trying to say here and portray is not a lot of people and organisations out there like hospitals and hospices know about the core curriculum. It's like it's new and it's rippling out there. We do a lot of work going into these places, giving them the advice on the core curriculum. Hopefully in a few years' time we shouldn't have to do that. But is that something what happened to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because I've always had that professional background, I've always had to gain that qualification to a set standard.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I looked at Reiki and how I could take that further,
Yes.
it was for me really important to know I was delivering at a standard,
Yes.
at a required standard. And so I could reassure clients who I might work on in the future that I had got that specific level of training.
Yeah.
I mean, people laugh at me now, Martin, because they say to me, Julie, you've done your level 1, you've done your level 2, why are you having to do it again? I'm doing it again because I know I'm going to achieve the occupational standards that are required and the national standards that are required. So that's why I'm doing it again. Yes, it's a refresher. I know I've done it, but it's making me think differently. And it's assuring me that when I go on to deliver out into the hospices and into hospitals and care homes, that I'll be delivering at that standard that's required. For me personally, it's really, really important, and it will carry on the standards that I've had from being a student nurse. Yeah, it's always been there. It's got to be the right level. Training's important.
And the standards always refer back to it's safeguarding the general public.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think going forward, you know, we've got social prescribing that's now really big on the agenda. And people will want to work with therapists who are on that register, who have done the required training.
Exactly. So Julie, now going forward with this Reiki and what you're taking on board, how are you going to now involve this in your daily work with what you do and moving forward with Reiki?
Okay, I think that's a really important question. I think I've already started to introduce some Reiki into my day-to-day work, but not directly by myself. So I work closely with one of the local hospices, Spring Hill Hospice. And they have recently started a dementia day therapy. And I've been really fortunate to try and introduce some Reiki into that day therapy. So that's something that is just developing, and I'd like to carry on seeing that develop in the future. And I think one of the things that I want to see is some more support for carers of people with dementia. So one of my challenges is to look at how Reiki can be introduced to carers. How will we go about doing that? And that's something that I know I will achieve. Because if we can care for the carer can then care for the person that's living with dementia. And again, it goes back to, you know, people living with dementia have different behaviours. Sometimes the behaviours can be a little bit challenging. So if we can calm that person, if we can help to ease some of the distress that they might be under, then I think that the carer will work better with their loved one. And I think that's a natural flow of Reiki. So if we can start by trying to get the carers relaxed and more at ease, then that will come across when they're trying to care for their loved one. You know, I would know that I was going to see my mum, and I'd be so tormented thinking, what will mum be like today? Will mum be in a bad mood today? Will she be in an upset mood today? And then if I went intense and all worked up, straight away my mum was like, oh, I'm going to get to you today, and she would pick up on my senses. And then once I'd learned to relax myself using that Reiki, doing some self-healing before I went in to see mum, I was calmer, mum was calmer. The calmer, that visit was beautiful. So that's how I see Reiki going forward. For me in my professional journey and my work as well. And I do some Reiki on carers. I've got Reiki, you know, carers that will come, and it's helping them so much. Going forward for me, I would like to be able to go and work in some care homes as well.
Yes.
I think care homes are overlooked.
Yeah.
And again, you know, that's the heart of where dementia is.
Yes.
So I think there's a big need for some work to be done within care homes. So that's my plan.
Yeah.
My plan is to be able to, you know, once I get to a point where I'm not working for the Alzheimer's Society and I get to that retirement stage, then I would really love to use this accredited course, this accredited programme that I'm doing, and to be able to start looking at how I can take it into some care homes and support people with dementia and their families.
Julie, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Oh, it's been my honour.
Have you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think the most important thing I can say to anyone who's considering doing a Reiki programme is to do their research and to make sure that they look for the right Reiki trainer, facilitator. Don't be influenced by these cheap courses that you can see on the internet. Don't think it's just a piece of paper that you're going to get and you can practice. I think you have to be really committed to want to do Reiki, to understand Reiki. If you want to do Reiki and your vision is to go out and practice on members of the public, or to be able to work in a clinical setting, in a hospital setting, in a hospice, in a care home, then make sure you consider doing an accredited programme, because without an accreditation, you're not going to be able to practice in those settings. So it's really important, if you just want to do Reiki because it's something that you're interested in and you want to work on family and friends, then maybe non-accredited would be the programme that you would want to do. If you really want to take Reiki to that next level and you want to work with the public, you want to, you know, work on this integrated medicine model even, because there's so much that's going to happen with Reiki, then I would just say consider doing an accredited Reiki programme. I would say work with Martin. Martin is you are the most amazing man, Martin. You're so gentle. You talk us through every single step of the process. You're passionate about it.
You know, the carers, you know,
oozes. It oozes out of you. You're there for us. You know, and I'm not saying it because we sat together. I'm saying it. I never knew you existed. I did my research. I came across you. I was guided to come to you. And I know this is going to be the best thing that I will have done. So for anybody who's considering, please do your research. And find the right programme for yourself.
Of course.
So that would be my advice.
Julie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Those words have been so inspiring even for me to listen to,
Thank you.
So thank you for attending today and just giving us that time, you know, to catch you this morning.
It's been my pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Julie.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So everybody, we've come to the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed producing this video for you. And I hope that you're leaving us with a lot of knowledge, what you've taken on board, because you yourself might want to work in a hospital or a hospice, a care home, veterinary surgery, specifically for animals. So I hope you've gained a lot of knowledge by looking at this video. I've certainly enjoyed giving you this insight into integrated healthcare. Like I say, just be careful if you need to book onto a course. You can always go to the Federation of Holistic Therapy for guidance and they would put you on the right track. So the final reference now, what I'd like to mention to you is, I understand this video has been quite in depth, specifically with the case studies. It's been in depth, it's been knowledgeable, and everything that has been mentioned in this video, like we've said, early doors of this video, everything has been referenced to, so you can go to specific sites and download this information for your own use. This is going to be at the end in our final credits here. There'll be a link there with a QR code, so it will take you over to a web page where everything will be mentioned there for you, and it'll be a link to specific sites where you can gain this knowledge from. Finally, I need to say a big massive thank you to Lynette Jackson for coming in for her interview, Sharon Whiteley with her interview, and Julie Mann for talking to you also. Just final word, I'm glad you've enjoyed this video, and we would love to hear any reviews what you have. Thank you very, very much for watching. Namaste.